22-year-old Liam Harper had never wanted anyone the way he wanted Dante Pierce. Not in the careful, theoretical way he'd felt attraction before, always at a safe distance, always easily dismissed. This was different. This was visceral, consuming, the kind of want that made his hands shake and his mouth go dry every single time his boss walked into a room. Before we dive in, comment where in the world you're watching from and don't forget to click subscribe. Liam had been a virgin his entire life, not by strict religious conviction or moral stance, but simply because nothing had ever felt urgent enough to pursue. He'd dated casually in college, had kissed a few people at parties, but whenever things moved towards something more, he'd found excuses to pull back. The truth was, he'd never felt that spark everyone talked about, that undeniable pull that made people lose their minds over someone else. Until Dante Pierce. Liam's first day as a junior analyst at Pierce Capital had been 3 months ago, a nervous Monday morning when he'd shown up 30 minutes early in his best suit, determined to make a good impression. The hedge fund occupied the top 3 floors of a gleaming tower in Manhattan's financial district, all glass and steel and the quiet hum of serious money being made and moved. He'd been sitting in the sleek waiting area, reviewing his notes for the 10th time, when the elevator doors opened and Dante Pierce stepped out. Liam's first thought, completely unbidden and utterly inappropriate, was, "Oh God, he's beautiful." Dante was tall, 6'4" at least, with rich dark brown skin and a build that suggested he spent significant time in the gym. He wore a charcoal suit that had clearly been custom-tailored to accommodate shoulders that broad, and he moved with the kind of confident grace that came from a man completely comfortable in his own skin and power. But it was his face that stopped Liam's breath. Strong jaw, full lips, dark eyes that seemed to take in everything at once, and an intensity in his expression that made Liam feel simultaneously exposed and invisible. Dante had walked past without seeming to notice him, deep in conversation with the woman beside him about some acquisition that needed to close by Friday. His voice was deep and resonant, the kind of voice that commanded attention without needing to be raised. Liam had sat there, frozen, his carefully prepared introduction dying on his lips as he watched his new boss disappear down the hallway. He'd felt something shift inside him, some door opening that he'd kept carefully locked his entire life. Want. Pure, uncomplicated, terrifying want. The realization that he was attracted to a man shouldn't have been shocking. Liam had always known he wasn't straight, had quietly accepted years ago that he found men attractive, but he'd never acted on it, never let himself explore what that might mean. It had been easier to just not, to focus on school, on building his career, on the safe, controlled path he'd mapped out for his life. But Dante Pierce had demolished that careful control in approximately 30 seconds. Over the following weeks, Liam learned that his initial attraction was only the beginning. The more he observed Dante in action, the harder he fell. Dante was brilliant. He could look at a company's financials and spot opportunities or risks that others missed. He asked questions that cut straight to the heart of complex issues. He made decisions with a confidence that was never arrogance, just the certainty of someone who trusted his own judgment and had been proven right enough times to earn that trust. He was also surprisingly kind. Liam watched him remember the names of everyone who worked in the building, from the senior partners to the cleaning staff. He asked people about their families, remembered details from previous conversations, thanked people for their work in ways that felt genuine rather than perfunctory. And God help him, Dante was funny. His humor was dry and unexpected, delivered with such a straight face that it took people a moment to realize he was joking. More than once, Liam had found himself laughing at something Dante said, then catching himself and trying to pretend he was coughing instead. But it was the physical awareness that was killing Liam slowly. He couldn't stop noticing things. The way Dante's hands looked when he held a pen or gestured while making a point, large and capable with long fingers. The breadth of his shoulders and how his suit strained slightly across his back when he reached for something. The way he moved through space, taking up room without apology. The deep timbre of his voice, especially in the morning before meetings, when it was even rougher than usual. And then there was the Bulge. Liam tried not to look, he really did, but Dante favored well-tailored suits that left very little to the imagination, and sometimes when Dante stood certain ways or sat with his legs slightly apart during meetings, the outline was unmistakable. He was substantial, very substantial, and Liam, virgin that he was, found himself obsessing over it in ways that made him feel like a teenager instead of a college graduate working at a prestigious hedge fund. What would it feel like? How would it fit? Would it hurt? The questions cycled through his mind at the most inappropriate times, during presentations and conference calls and moments when he should be focused on literally anything else. He started having dreams, vivid, detailed dreams where Dante touched him, where those large hands mapped his body, where he finally understood what all the fuss was about regarding physical intimacy. He'd wake up hard and aching, his body demanding things his mind wasn't ready to process. The worst part was that Dante seemed completely unaware of Liam's internal crisis. He treated Liam exactly how he treated every other junior analyst, with professional respect, high expectations, and the occasional word of praise when Liam's work was particularly strong. There were no lingering looks, no inappropriate comments, no suggestion that Dante saw Liam as anything other than a competent employee who occasionally needed guidance, which was exactly how it should be. Liam knew that. Dante was his boss, 11 years older, completely out of his league, and almost certainly straight given the photos Liam had seen of him at various events with beautiful women. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally were two very different things. Liam threw himself into his work, arriving early and staying late, partly because he was genuinely ambitious and wanted to excel, but also because it gave him more opportunities to be near Dante, to observe him, to collect small moments like treasures he could examine later in private. 3 months into his internship, everything changed. It was a Thursday evening, nearly 8 p.m., and the office had emptied out hours ago. Liam was putting the finishing touches on a research report that was due the next morning, too focused on getting the analysis right to notice the time. He heard footsteps approaching and looked up to find Dante standing in the doorway of the small office Liam shared with 2 other junior analysts. "You're here late," Dante observed, his deep voice making Liam's pulse spike instantly. "Just finishing this report," Liam managed, hoping his voice sounded steadier than he felt. "I wanted to make sure the valuation model was solid before tomorrow's meeting." Dante walked into the office, and Liam was suddenly very aware of how empty the floor was, how quiet, how alone they were. "Let me see," Dante said, coming around to Liam's side of the desk. He leaned over Liam's shoulder to look at the computer screen, and suddenly Liam could smell him, something clean and masculine with hints of cedar and citrus. The warmth from Dante's body seemed to radiate through the small space between them, and Liam found himself holding his breath, frozen in place. "This is good work," Dante said after a moment, scrolling through the spreadsheet. "Your methodology is sound, and you've accounted for variables the others missed. Well done." The praise made Liam's chest warm with a pleasure that had nothing to do with professional advancement and everything to do with wanting Dante's approval in ways he couldn't examine too closely. "Thank you, sir," he said quietly. Dante straightened and looked at him, with an expression Liam couldn't quite read. "You don't have to call me sir, Liam. Mr. Pierce is fine in front of clients, but when it's just us, Dante works." The permission to use his first name felt weighted with intimacy Liam knew he was probably imagining. "Okay," Liam said, and then because he was tired and his filters were down, he added, "Dante." Something flickered across Dante's face at hearing his name in Liam's voice, but it was gone too quickly for Liam to identify. "You should go home," Dante said. "Get some rest. The report is excellent, but you won't do yourself any favors if you're exhausted during tomorrow's presentation." "I will," Liam promised, making no move to actually pack up. Dante seemed to hesitate, as if debating whether to say something else. Finally, he asked, "How are you finding the work? Is the internship what you expected?" It was a normal question, the kind any supervisor might ask, but there was something in Dante's tone that suggested he actually cared about the answer. "It's challenging," Liam admitted. "Sometimes I feel like I'm barely keeping up, but I love it. I love the complexity, the puzzle of trying to understand what makes companies succeed or fail. And I'm learning so much." "You're doing more than keeping up," Dante said. "Your work is consistently strong, often stronger than analysts who've been here for years. You have good instincts, Liam. Trust them. The encouragement made Liam brave enough to ask something he'd been wondering. Do you ever doubt yourself when you're making big decisions? Dante smiled slightly, and it transformed his usually serious face into something almost approachable. Every single time, anyone who tells you they're always certain is either lying or dangerous. Good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. The key is learning to trust yourself even when you're uncertain. They stood there for a moment, the conversation having drifted into something more personal than professional. Liam felt like he was seeing a glimpse of the real Dante beneath the commanding CEO exterior. Then Dante's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. He glanced at it and sighed. I need to take this. But Liam, seriously, go home. That's not a suggestion. Yes, sir. I mean, Dante. Liam corrected himself, and was rewarded with another small smile before Dante walked away, already answering the call. Liam sat there for several minutes after Dante left, his heart still racing, his skin still warm from where Dante had stood close enough to feel. He was in so much trouble. Over the next few weeks, Liam noticed a shift. Dante seemed to seek him out more often, asking his opinion on deals, inviting him to sit in on meetings with senior partners, giving him responsibilities that stretched beyond his official role as a junior analyst. You have a different perspective than the others, Dante explained one afternoon when Liam questioned why he'd been included in a strategy session. You're not so entrenched in how we've always done things that you can't see new possibilities. I value that. The increased proximity was both thrilling and torturous. Liam found himself in Dante's office regularly, standing close while they reviewed documents, sitting across from him during impromptu discussions about market trends, joining him for working lunches where conversation ranged from business to books to their vastly different upbringings. Liam learned that Dante had grown up in Atlanta, the son of a single mother who'd worked 2 jobs to put him through private school. He'd earned a full scholarship to Wharton, built his first successful fund by 30, and had been featured in Forbes' 30 Under 30 list years ago. In turn, Dante learned about Liam's suburban Connecticut childhood, his economics degree from Columbia, his somewhat controlling parents who'd wanted him to go to law school, his quiet rebellion in choosing finance instead. You're braver than you give yourself credit for, Dante observed one afternoon. It takes courage to disappoint people you love by choosing your own path. Liam had ducked his head, unused to being called brave when he felt like a coward about so many things. His virginity, his unexplored sexuality, his inability to act on his feelings for the man sitting across from him. The dreams intensified. Now they included conversations like the ones they'd actually had, moments of connection and understanding before things inevitably turned physical. Liam would wake frustrated and confused, his body aching for things he'd never experienced, his mind playing endless loops of scenarios that could never happen. He tried to be subtle about his attraction, he really did. But he caught himself staring more than once, his eyes drawn to Dante's hands or his shoulders or, God help him, the pronounced bulge that was impossible to ignore in those perfectly tailored trousers. 5 months into his internship, Liam was fairly certain he was losing his mind. It was a Friday afternoon, the office in that liminal space between productive and weekend-bound. Liam was in Dante's office, reviewing the final details of a deal that was closing Monday. They'd been working for 2 hours straight, focused and efficient, and Liam had almost managed to forget his constant awareness of Dante's physical presence. Then Dante stood to retrieve a file from the credenza behind his desk, and when he reached up to the high shelf, his shirt pulled tight across his back and shoulders, the fabric straining against muscle in a way that made Liam's mouth go dry. Dante turned back around with the file and froze. Liam realized with horror that he'd been staring. Not subtly glancing, but openly staring at Dante's body with an expression that probably betrayed every inappropriate thought he'd ever had. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither of them moved. Then Dante set the file down carefully, his expression unreadable. "Liam," he said quietly, "we need to talk." Panic flooded through Liam. he was going to lose his job. Dante was going to call him out for inappropriate behavior, for making his boss uncomfortable, for crossing every professional boundary with his obvious attraction. "I'm sorry," Liam said quickly, standing up so fast his chair rolled backward. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. Liam, Dante interrupted, his voice gentle but firm. "Stop. Take a breath. You're not in trouble." Liam stopped, babbling but remained standing, his heart racing, his face burning with embarrassment. Dante walked around his desk and leaned against the front of it, arms crossed over his chest in a posture that somehow managed to be both casual and commanding. "How long?" he asked simply. "How long what?" Liam asked, though he knew exactly what Dante meant. "How long have you been attracted to me?" The direct question left no room for deflection or denial. Liam swallowed hard, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. "Since my first day," he admitted in barely more than a whisper. "I know it's inappropriate. I know you're my boss and I'm just an intern and this is completely unprofessional. But I couldn't." "Liam," Dante said again, and this time his voice was softer, warmer. "Breathe." Liam tried to obey, drawing in a shaky breath while his entire world felt like it was tilting off its axis. "Do you think you've been subtle?" Dante asked, and there was something almost amused in his tone. "I tried to be," Liam said miserably. "You weren't," Dante told him, but not unkindly. "I've watched you watching me for months now. I've seen the way your eyes follow me across a room. I've noticed how you react when I stand too close. I've been very aware of your attention, Liam." The words made Liam want to sink through the floor. "I'm so sorry. I'll transfer to a different team, or I can resign if that's easier." "I don't want you to do either of those things," Dante interrupted. "What I want is for you to be honest with me. What are you feeling? Not the guilt or embarrassment, but underneath all that. What do you actually want?" The question was dangerous. An invitation to confess things Liam had barely admitted to himself. But something in Dante's expression, open, patient, genuinely curious, made him brave. "I want you," Liam said, his voice cracking slightly on the words. "I've never wanted anyone the way I want you. I think about you constantly. I dream about you. I know it's wrong and inappropriate and impossible, but I can't make it stop. I've tried." Dante absorbed this confession with remarkable calm. "Have you ever been with anyone? Man or woman?" The question made Liam's face burn hotter. "No," he admitted. "I'm a virgin. I've kissed a few people, but I've never done anything more than that. I never wanted to before." Something flickered in Dante's dark eyes, surprise perhaps, or interest, or something else Liam couldn't identify. "But you want to now," Dante said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Liam whispered. "God, yes." Dante was quiet for a long moment, studying Liam's face with an intensity that made him feel completely exposed. "I need to tell you something," he finally said, "and I need you to listen carefully." Liam nodded, not trusting his voice. "I am attracted to you," Dante said, and the words hit Liam like a physical shock. "I have been for a while now, probably longer than I should have been given our professional relationship. I've watched you grow more confident over these months, watched you come into your own, and yes, I've noticed the way you look at me. I've noticed everything about you, Liam, and I've been fighting my own attraction because I'm your boss and you're young, and I have a responsibility to maintain appropriate boundaries." Liam could barely process what he was hearing. Dante was attracted to him? Dante had been fighting attraction too? "But," Dante continued, his voice dropping lower, "I'm not a saint, and watching you look at me the way you've been looking at me, knowing you want me, knowing you've never been touched by anyone else, that's been slowly driving me out of my mind." "What are you saying?" Liam asked, his voice barely audible. Dante stood up from the desk and took a single step toward him, closing some of the distance between them, but not all of it. "I'm saying that if you want to explore this attraction, if you want to experience what it's like to be with someone, I could be that person for you. But Liam, you need to understand what you'd be getting into." "What do you mean?" "I don't do casual," Dante said bluntly. "I'm not interested in a quick hookup or a secret affair that we pretend didn't happen on Monday morning. If we go down this road, I'm going to want more than that. I'm going to want to know you, all of you. I'm going to be attentive and demanding and probably more intense than you're ready for. And yes, given our age difference and the fact that I'd be your first, I'm going to be protective and careful and make sure you're ready for everything that happens." Liam's heart was pounding so hard, he could hear it in his ears. "You make it sound like a relationship." "That's because it would be," Dante said simply. "I'm too old to play games, Liam. Either we keep this professional and you work here and we both manage our attraction, or we acknowledge that something real could happen between us, and we figure out how to navigate that responsibly. But I need you to choose with full understanding of what you're choosing." "What about the job?" Liam asked. "What about the fact that you're my boss? If you choose this, choose us. You'll be transferred to a different team," Dante said. "I won't have a romantic relationship with someone who reports to me. It's not fair to you or anyone else on the team. You'll still work at Pierce Capital, but you won't work directly for me." The fact that Dante had clearly thought through the logistics made this feel more real, more possible. "You've been thinking about this," Liam said. "For weeks," Dante admitted, "lying awake at night, trying to figure out if there was any way to make this work without being completely inappropriate, trying to convince myself that what I was feeling was just superficial attraction that would fade if I ignored it. But it hasn't faded, Liam. It's only gotten stronger." Liam took a shaky breath, his whole body trembling with the weight of this moment. "I don't know what I'm doing," he confessed. "I've never even kissed anyone properly. I don't know how to be with someone, how to touch or be touched. What if I'm terrible at it? What if I disappoint you?" Dante's expression softened into something almost tender. "You couldn't disappoint me if you tried. And Liam, the fact that you've never done this before, that you've been waiting even if you didn't know what you were waiting for, that's not a deficit. That's a gift you'd be choosing to give me, and I would never take that lightly." "Show me," Liam heard himself say, the words escaping before his brain could catch up. "Please, I want to know what it feels like. I want you to be the one who shows me." Dante closed his eyes briefly, as if gathering control. When he opened them again, the heat in his gaze made Liam's knees weak. "Not here," he said firmly. "Not in my office where anyone could walk in. Not for your first time. You deserve better than that." "Then where?" Liam asked, desperate now. "When?" "My place," Dante said. "Tonight, if you're sure. I'll send the car for you at 8. But Liam, I need you to be certain. Once we start this, I'm not going to want to stop. I'm going to want to discover everything about you, teach you everything I know, make you feel things you've never felt before. So if you have any doubts, any hesitation, now is the time to walk away." Liam thought about all the years of careful control, of denying himself, of watching life happen to other people while he stayed safely on the sidelines. He thought about the dreams that left him aching and unsatisfied, about the constant awareness of Dante that had consumed him for months. "I'm sure," he said with more confidence than he felt. "I want this. I want you." Dante's control seemed to slip for just a moment, a flash of raw hunger crossing his face before he mastered it. "Then go home. Pack an overnight bag because I'm not letting you leave until morning. Text me your address. And Liam?" He paused, his voice dropping to something almost dangerous. "Be ready, because once I get my hands on you, once I start showing you what pleasure feels like, you're going to understand why you've been waiting. You were waiting for me." The words sent heat flooding through Liam's body, pooling low in his belly. He nodded mutely, not trusting his voice, and somehow made his legs work well enough to leave Dante's office on shaking knees. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. Liam went through the motions of finishing his work, responding to emails, pretending everything was normal while his entire world had shifted on its axis. He left the office at 5:30 and headed back to his small studio apartment in Hell's Kitchen, his mind racing. Was he really doing this? Was he really about to lose his virginity to his boss? His incredibly attractive, intelligent, intense boss who apparently wanted him just as much as he wanted Dante? He showered and changed 3 times, unsure what to wear to his own seduction. Finally, he settled on dark jeans and a soft blue sweater that he knew brought out his eyes, then felt ridiculous for caring about such things. He packed a bag with toiletries and a change of clothes for tomorrow, his hands trembling slightly as he tried to imagine what the next 12 hours would bring. At 7:45, his phone buzzed with a text from Dante. "The car's downstairs. No pressure if you've changed your mind, but I'm hoping you haven't." Liam grabbed his bag and headed down to the street where a sleek black car waited. The driver greeted him professionally and held the door, giving no indication that he thought anything unusual about driving a junior analyst to the CEO's private residence on a Friday night. The drive to Dante's penthouse in Tribeca took 20 minutes. Liam spent the entire time trying to calm his racing heart and failing spectacularly. When the car pulled up to the building, Liam recognized it as one of those converted warehouses that now housed multi-million-dollar lofts. The driver escorted him to a private elevator and gave him a key card. "Top floor," the driver said with a small smile. "Have a good evening, Mr. Harper." Liam stepped into the elevator alone, swiped the card, and felt his stomach drop as it began to ascend. His reflection in the mirrored walls showed a young man who looked equal parts terrified and excited, his face flushed, his eyes too bright. This was it. This was really happening. The elevator opened directly into Dante's loft, and Liam stepped out into a space that was somehow exactly what he'd expected, and nothing like he'd imagined. The loft was massive, all exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows with views of the city that took his breath away. The furniture was modern but comfortable, clearly chosen by someone with excellent taste and the money to indulge it. Books lined one entire wall, and Liam spotted first editions mixed in with well-worn paperbacks. Art that looked original and expensive hung on the brick walls, but it was Dante who captured all his attention. He stood by the windows, backlit by the city lights, wearing dark jeans and a black Henley that clung to his muscular frame in ways that made Liam's mouth go dry. He'd never seen Dante in anything but suits, and the casual clothes somehow made him even more attractive, more accessible, more real. "You came," Dante said, his voice carrying across the space. "Did you think I wouldn't?" Liam asked, setting his bag down by the elevator. "I hoped you would," Dante admitted, "but I would have understood if you'd changed your mind." They stood there for a moment, the space between them feeling charged with all the things they'd said earlier, and all the things they hadn't. "I made dinner," Dante said, surprising him. "I thought you might be hungry, and I thought we could talk before." He trailed off, but the implication was clear. Before everything changed. "Okay," Liam agreed, grateful for the brief reprieve, even as his body hummed with anticipation. The kitchen was open to the main living space, all gleaming stainless steel and granite countertops. Dante had prepared what looked like a simple but elegant meal: grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, wild rice. "You cook?" Liam asked, surprised despite himself. "My mother made sure all her children could feed themselves," Dante said with a slight smile. "She said any man who couldn't cook was choosing helplessness, and she didn't raise helpless children." They sat at the island to eat, and Liam found himself relaxing, despite his nerves. Dante asked about his weekend plans, ironic given that Dante was his weekend plans. And they talked about the deal that was closing Monday, and the book Liam had mentioned he was reading. It felt surprisingly normal, just two people sharing a meal and conversation. Except nothing about this was normal, and Liam was hyper-aware of every detail. The way Dante's hands moved when he gestured, the deep timbre of his voice, the occasional glances that lingered a fraction too long. When they'd finished eating and cleared the dishes, Dante poured them each a glass of wine and led Liam to the couch by the windows. "Are you nervous?" Dante asked, settling beside him close enough to touch but not quite touching. "Terrified," Liam admitted honestly, "but also excited. I don't really know how to explain it." "You don't have to explain it," Dante said gently. "It makes sense to be both. Liam, I want to make something very clear before we go any further. Nothing has to happen tonight beyond what you're comfortable with. We can talk, we can kiss, we can stop at any point. There's no pressure, no expectations. The only thing I care about is making sure you feel safe and good." The reassurance helped, but Liam shook his head. "I don't want to stop," he said. "I've been waiting for this, waiting for you even before I knew it. I want to know what it feels like. All of it. Dante set his wine glass down carefully. Come here, he said softly, and it wasn't quite a command, but it wasn't quite a request either. Liam moved closer until their thighs were touching, until he could feel the heat radiating from Dante's body. Can I touch you? Dante asked, his hand hovering near Liam's face. Yes, Liam breathed. Please. Dante's hand cupped his cheek, thumb brushing across his cheekbone with devastating gentleness. The touch sent electricity racing through Liam's nervous system, every nerve ending suddenly on high alert. You're beautiful, Dante murmured. Do you know that? I've wanted to tell you for months, but I couldn't. I've wanted to touch you like this, to see if your skin was as soft as it looked. Is it? Liam asked, his voice barely audible. Softer, Dante said, his thumb tracing Liam's lower lip now. I'm going to kiss you now. Is that okay? Liam nodded, not trusting his voice, and then Dante was leaning in, and their lips met for the first time. The kiss was gentle at first, almost chaste, just a soft press of lips that somehow still managed to make Liam's entire body respond. Then Dante's hand slid to the back of his neck, angling his head slightly, and the kiss deepened. Dante kissed like he did everything else, with confidence and skill and complete focus. His lips moved against Liam's with purpose, coaxing his mouth open so his tongue could slide inside, exploring with a thoroughness that made Liam whimper. Liam had been kissed before, but never like this. Never with this intensity, this attention, this overwhelming sense of being completely claimed by another person's mouth. When they finally broke apart, Liam was breathing hard, his lips tingling, his whole body trembling with want. Good? Dante asked, his voice rough. So good, Liam managed. Can we do that again? Dante smiled, something almost predatory in the expression. We're going to do that a lot more than once, baby. We're just getting started. The endearment made Liam's chest warm. He leaned in for another kiss, more confident now, and Dante met him eagerly. They kissed for what felt like hours, mouths learning each other, hands starting to explore. Dante's palm slid under Liam's sweater, finding bare skin, and the contact made Liam gasp into his mouth. You're so responsive, Dante murmured against his lips. Every touch, every kiss, I can feel you reacting. Do you have any idea how attractive that is? Liam didn't know how to respond, so he just kissed Dante again, pouring all his want and need and years of denial into it. Dante pulled back suddenly, his eyes dark with desire. Bedroom, he said. I want you in my bed. He stood and offered his hand, and Liam took it without hesitation. Dante led him through the loft to a spacious master suite dominated by a large bed with crisp white linens. Last chance, Dante said, turning to face him. Once we're in that bed, I'm going to start taking you apart. I'm going to learn every inch of your body, find every spot that makes you shake. I'm going to make you feel things you've never felt before. So if you're not ready, I'm ready, Liam interrupted. I want this. I want you to be my first. Please, Dante. Something in Dante's control snapped. He pulled Liam against him and kissed him hard, his hands gripping Liam's hips with enough pressure to leave marks. Liam kissed back desperately, his hands fisting in Dante's shirt, trying to get closer, trying to feel more. Clothes off, Dante said against his mouth. I need to see you. They undressed quickly, Liam's fingers fumbling with buttons and zippers while Dante watched with dark, hungry eyes. When Liam was finally naked, standing in front of Dante wearing nothing but his vulnerability, he fought the urge to cover himself. Don't hide, Dante said, catching his hands before he could cross them over his chest. Let me look at you. Dante's gaze traveled over him slowly, taking in every detail, and Liam felt his face burn under the scrutiny. He was average height, slim but not overly muscular, pale skin that showed every flush of arousal. Next to Dante's powerful build, he felt small and fragile, but the way Dante looked at him didn't make him feel inadequate. It made him feel desired, wanted, treasured. Perfect, Dante said simply. Absolutely perfect. Then Dante stripped off his own clothes, and it was Liam's turn to stare. Dante's body was magnificent. Broad shoulders, defined chest and abs, powerful thighs, and between his legs, Liam's breath caught. He'd known Dante was well endowed from the outlines he'd seen through suit pants, but seeing it for real was something else entirely. Dante was thick and long and already hard, his arousal evident and slightly intimidating. "See something you like?" Dante asked with amusement in his voice. Liam swallowed hard. "You're really big. And you're a virgin," Dante said, closing the distance between them. "Which means we're going to take our time. I'm going to make sure you're ready, that you want it so badly nothing else matters. Trust me?" "Yes," Liam whispered, because despite his nerves, he did trust Dante, completely. Dante guided him to the bed, laying him down gently before covering Liam's body with his own. The skin-to-skin contact was overwhelming. Everywhere they touched, Liam felt electricity and heat. "I'm going to kiss you everywhere," Dante murmured, already making good on his promise by pressing kisses along Liam's jaw, down his neck. "I'm going to learn what makes you moan, what makes you beg, and when you're ready, when you're desperate for it, I'm going to make you mine. Would you like that, baby?" "Yes," Liam gasped as Dante's mouth found a sensitive spot where his neck met his shoulder. "God, yes." Dante spent what felt like hours exploring Liam's body with his hands and mouth. He found spots Liam didn't know were sensitive. The inside of his wrist, the curve where his hip met his thigh, the hollow of his collarbone. Every touch, every kiss built the heat higher until Liam was writhing beneath him, incoherent with need. When Dante's hand finally wrapped around Liam's arousal, the sensation was so intense that Liam cried out, his back arching off the bed. "That's it," Dante encouraged, his voice dark with satisfaction. "Let me hear you. Let me know how good I'm making you feel." He worked Liam with practiced skill, his hand moving in slow, deliberate strokes that had Liam trembling and gasping. Then his mouth replaced his hand, and Liam nearly came apart at the wet heat enveloping him. "Dante," he sobbed, his hands fisting in the sheets. I can't." "Let go," Dante commanded around him. "Give me everything." Liam shattered, pleasure crashing over him in waves so intense he thought he might die from it. Dante worked him through it, gentle now, bringing him down slowly until Liam was boneless and panting against the sheets. "That was incredible," Liam managed when he could speak again. "That was just the beginning," Dante said with a wicked smile. "We're nowhere near done." Liam lay there catching his breath, his body still trembling from the intensity of what he'd just experienced. He'd touched himself before, obviously, but this was completely different. Having someone else bring him pleasure, having Dante's mouth on him, it was overwhelming in ways he couldn't have anticipated. Dante kissed his way back up Liam's body, taking his time, making Liam shiver with each press of lips against sensitive skin. When their mouths met again, Liam could taste himself on Dante's tongue, and the intimacy of it made his chest tighten with emotion. "How do you feel?" Dante asked softly, his hand cupping Liam's face with such tenderness it made him want to cry. "Like I've been missing out my entire life," Liam admitted. "Like I finally understand what everyone's been talking about." Dante smiled, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "That was just your first taste, baby. There's so much more I want to show you." Liam looked down between their bodies, where Dante was still very obviously aroused, thick and hard against his hip. "What about you?" he asked, suddenly aware that this had been entirely one-sided so far. "This is about you tonight," Dante said, "about making your first time good, making sure you're ready." "I am ready," Liam insisted, feeling braver now, emboldened by pleasure and desire. "I want to feel you, all of you. Please, Dante." Dante's eyes darkened, and Liam watched him wage an internal battle between patience and want. "Liam, I'm not small, and you've never done this before. We need to take our time, make sure your body's prepared, or I could hurt you." "Then prepare me," Liam said, his voice steadier than he expected. "Show me what I need to do. Teach me." The word teach seemed to affect Dante viscerally. He groaned, closing his eyes briefly. "You're going to be the death of me," he muttered. But there was affection in his voice along with the desire. He reached for the nightstand and retrieved supplies, lubricant and protection. Liam watched him, his heart racing with anticipation and nerves in equal measure. "I'm going to touch you now," Dante said, his voice dropping lower. "I'm going to use my fingers to open you up slowly, get you ready for me. It might feel strange at first, but I promise it's going to feel good. Tell me if anything hurts. If you need me to stop or slow down, can you do that?" Liam nodded. "I trust you?" Dante kissed him deeply, one hand sliding down Liam's body while the other cradled his head. "Spread your legs for me, baby. Let me take care of you." Liam obeyed, opening himself to Dante's touch, feeling more vulnerable than he'd ever felt in his life. Dante's hand moved between his legs, fingers slick with lubricant, finding places no one had ever touched. The first press of Dante's finger felt foreign and strange, and Liam tensed instinctively. "Breathe," Dante murmured, against his ear. "Relax into it. I've got you." Liam forced himself to breathe, to let his body adjust to the intrusion. Slowly, the strangeness faded, replaced by something that wasn't quite pleasure, but wasn't unpleasant either. "That's it," Dante praised, working his finger deeper. "You're doing so well, baby, taking it so perfectly." The praise made Liam's body respond, relaxing further, and suddenly Dante's finger brushed against something inside him that made him cry out in surprise. "There it is," Dante said with satisfaction. "Feel good?" "What was that?" Liam gasped. "That's your prostate," Dante explained, stroking over it again, and making Liam's whole body jerk with pleasure. "And I'm going to make you feel incredible by touching it over and over until you can't remember your own name." He added a second finger, stretching Liam further, and the burn of it made him hiss. But Dante was patient, working him carefully, finding that spot inside him, and caressing it until the discomfort faded into pleasure so intense Liam thought he might come apart again. "More," Liam heard himself beg. "Please, Dante, I need more." "Greedy," Dante teased, but he added a third finger, stretching Liam wider. "You feel so tight around my fingers. I can't wait to feel you wrapped around something bigger." The words made Liam clench involuntarily, and Dante groaned at the response. He worked Liam thoroughly, making sure he was ready, driving him higher and higher until Liam was writhing and begging incoherently for something he couldn't even name. Finally, Dante withdrew his fingers, and Liam whimpered at the loss. "I know, baby," Dante soothed, reaching for protection and rolling it on with practiced efficiency. "I'm going to give you what you need now." He positioned himself between Liam's legs, the head of his arousal pressing against Liam's entrance. Even prepared as he was, Liam felt a flutter of nervousness at the size of him. "Look at me," Dante commanded gently, and Liam met his eyes. "I'm going to go slow. If it's too much, if you need me to stop, you tell me, understand?" "Yes," Liam whispered. Dante pushed forward slowly, and Liam felt the pressure building, his body resisting despite the preparation. It burned, the stretch almost too much, and he couldn't stop the small sound of distress that escaped. Dante froze immediately. "Breathe through it," he said, holding perfectly still. "Your body needs time to adjust. Just breathe, baby." Liam tried to obey, focusing on his breathing rather than the burning stretch. Slowly, gradually, his body began to accommodate the intrusion, and Dante pushed deeper. "That's it," Dante encouraged, his voice strained with the effort of holding back. "Taking me so well. You're incredible, Liam. So tight, so perfect." Inch by inch, Dante worked himself inside, pausing whenever Liam tensed, murmuring praise and encouragement. When he was finally fully seated, both of them were breathing hard, sweat beading on their skin. "How do you feel?" Dante asked, his arms trembling slightly from the strain of holding still. "Full," Liam managed. "So full, I can feel every inch of you." "Good," Dante said, pressing a kiss to his temple. "Because I'm going to move now, and I'm going to show you exactly what it feels like to be thoroughly loved." He pulled back slowly, then pushed back in, and this time, there was less burn and more pleasure. He established a rhythm, deep, measured strokes that had Liam gasping and clutching at his shoulders. "That's it," Dante praised, angling his hips to hit that spot inside Liam with every thrust. "Let me hear you. Let me know how good I'm making you feel." Liam couldn't have stayed quiet if he'd tried. The pleasure was building again, different from before, but just as intense. And he heard himself making sounds he'd never made before, moans and gasps and broken pleas for more. Dante picked up the pace, driving into him harder now, deeper, and Liam wrapped his legs around Dante's waist, trying to take him even deeper, trying to feel even more. "Touch yourself," Dante commanded. "I want to feel you come while I'm inside you." Liam's hand flew to his arousal, and the dual sensation of Dante filling him while he stroked himself was too much. Pleasure crashed over him like a tidal wave, and he cried out Dante's name as his body clenched rhythmically. Dante thrust through it, the tightness pushing him over the edge, and Liam felt him shudder as he found his own release, buried deep inside him. They collapsed together, both breathing hard, skin slick with sweat, hearts racing in synchronization. Dante carefully withdrew and disposed of protection before gathering Liam into his arms, holding him close. "Are you okay?" Dante asked after a few moments, his hand stroking soothing patterns on Liam's back. Better than okay, Liam said honestly, feeling completely boneless and satisfied in ways he'd never imagined. That was incredible. You were incredible, Dante corrected. Taking your first time like that, trusting me so completely. Thank you for giving me that gift, Liam. The words made Liam's chest tighten with emotion. He'd always thought losing his virginity would be awkward or uncomfortable, or something to get through. He'd never imagined it could feel like this, sacred and intense and absolutely right. They lay together as their breathing returned to normal, Dante's fingers tracing idle patterns on Liam's skin, neither wanting to break the intimate bubble they'd created. Stay here, Dante said finally, pressing a kiss to Liam's forehead. I'm going to get something to clean us up. He returned a moment later with a warm cloth, and Liam blushed as Dante carefully cleaned him, the gesture somehow more intimate than everything that had come before. When he was done, he climbed back into bed and pulled Liam against his chest. How do you feel now? Dante asked. Honestly, any pain? A little sore, Liam admitted. But good sore, like I've been thoroughly used in the best possible way. Dante's chest rumbled with quiet laughter. You're going to be sorer tomorrow. Your body needs time to adjust to being opened up like that for the first time. The reminder that this was only the beginning, that there would be more times, made Liam smile against Dante's skin. I can handle it, he said confidently. I know you can, Dante agreed. You were so brave tonight, Liam. So open and trusting and beautiful. I meant what I said earlier. I'm all in with you. This isn't just physical for me. It's not just physical for me either, Liam confessed. I've been falling for you for months, Dante. Every conversation we had, every moment you looked at me like I mattered. I was falling, and I didn't know how to stop. I don't want you to stop, Dante said, tilting Liam's chin up so he could look into his eyes. I want you to keep falling. I want to build something real with you, Liam. Something that matters. What about work? Liam asked, voicing the concern that had been lurking in the back of his mind. What happens Monday? Monday I'll talk to HR about transferring you to Marcus Chen's team, Dante said. Marcus runs our emerging markets division, and he's been looking for someone with your analytical skills. You'll still be at Pierce Capital, but you won't report to me anymore. That way there's no conflict of interest. Will people talk? Liam asked. Will they think I slept my way into a position? Some people will always talk, Dante said honestly. But your work speaks for itself, Liam. Anyone who's paid attention knows you've earned your place here. The transfer is lateral, not a promotion. And Marcus actually requested you specifically last week before any of this happened. The information eased some of Liam's worry. He didn't want anyone to think he'd compromised his integrity or that Dante had shown him favoritism. What about us outside of work? Liam asked. How do we do this? Carefully, Dante said. Respectfully. I won't hide you or pretend this isn't happening, but we'll be professional at the office. No one needs to know the details of our personal relationship. And Liam? He paused, his expression serious. I meant what I said about not doing casual. If we're doing this, we're doing it for real. I want to date you properly, take you to dinner, introduce you to my friends and family. Build something that lasts. I want that too, Liam said, feeling tears prick his eyes at the certainty in Dante's voice. I want everything with you. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, and Liam had never felt safer or more content in his life. He woke several hours later to find Dante watching him in the dim light filtering through the windows. Can't sleep? Liam asked, his voice rough from sleep. Just thinking, Dante said, brushing hair back from Liam's forehead. About how unexpected this is. How lucky I am that you walked into my office 5 months ago. I'm the lucky one, Liam argued. You saw me when I felt invisible. You made me feel valued and wanted and brave enough to reach for something I didn't think I could have. We're both lucky then, Dante compromised, leaning down to kiss him softly. The kiss started gentle but quickly deepened, desire building again between them. Liam felt Dante growing hard against his thigh and realized he was responding too, his body already learning to crave this connection. Again? He asked, surprised at how quickly his body was ready. If you're not too sore, Dante said. "But we can wait. We have all night. We have all the time in the world, baby." "I don't want to wait," Liam said, rolling to straddle Dante's hips. "I want to feel you again. I want to know if it gets better the second time." "It does," Dante promised, his hands gripping Liam's hips. "And the third time, and the 10th time, and every time after that. Want to try being on top? You can control the pace, take what you need." The idea of being in control was both terrifying and thrilling. Liam nodded, and Dante reached for supplies again, preparing them both. "Go slow," Dante instructed, as Liam positioned himself. "Lower yourself onto me at your own pace. If it's too much, stop." Liam took a breath and began to sink down, the stretch even more intense from this angle. But he could control it, could take his time adjusting, and somehow that made it easier. When he was fully seated, he had to pause, overwhelmed by the fullness. "Look at you," Dante breathed, his hands steady on Liam's hips. "Taking all of me like you were made for it. You're so beautiful like this, Liam. So perfect." Liam began to move, finding a rhythm, and the pleasure built quickly. From this angle, every movement hit that perfect spot inside him, and he found himself chasing the sensation, rising and falling with increasing confidence. Dante let him set the pace, offering praise and encouragement, his hands guiding but never controlling. When Liam's thighs began to shake from exertion, Dante took over, thrusting up into him with perfect precision. Liam came with a cry, his body clenching around Dante, and the sensation pushed Dante over the edge too. They collapsed together again, spent and satisfied, and Liam thought he could get used to this feeling of being completely connected to another person. The rest of the weekend passed in a blur of conversation and intimacy. Dante made breakfast Saturday morning, and they ate on the terrace overlooking the city, talking about everything from their childhoods to their dreams for the future. "I want to travel," Liam admitted, "see parts of the world I've only read about. My parents always prioritized work over experiences, and I think I inherited that same attitude. But I don't want to wake up at 50 and realize I've spent my entire life in conference rooms." "Then we'll travel," Dante said simply. "I've been to dozens of countries for business, but barely seen any of them beyond the inside of hotels and boardrooms. We could change that together, see things that matter instead of just closing deals." The casual way Dante included himself in Liam's future plans made his chest warm. This was real. They were building something real. They spent Saturday afternoon exploring the city like tourists, Dante showing Liam favorite spots most people didn't know about. They had lunch at a small Vietnamese restaurant in Chinatown, wandered through bookstores in the village, ended up at a jazz club in the evening where Dante surprised him by knowing the musicians personally. Saturday night, they made love again, slower this time, with Dante taking his time to map every inch of Liam's body, finding new sensitive places, building his pleasure so slowly that when Liam finally climaxed, it felt like falling and flying simultaneously. Sunday morning, reality began to creep back in. They had to discuss logistics, how they'd navigate work the next day, what story they'd tell people. "The truth," Dante said firmly. "Not the intimate details, but the basic truth. We're seeing each other. It's new. We're navigating it carefully to ensure professionalism at work. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me directly." "You make it sound simple," Liam said. "It is simple," Dante replied. "I care about you. You care about me. Everything else is just details we figure out together." Monday morning came too quickly. Liam went home to change, suddenly nervous about seeing Dante in the office, about how they'd interact now that everything was different. He arrived at his usual time and headed to his desk, trying to act normal. Marcus Chen stopped by at 9. "Liam, got a minute? Dante and I would like to talk to you about something." Liam followed Marcus to Dante's office, his palms sweating slightly. Dante was there behind his desk, every inch the commanding CEO. Their eyes met briefly, and Liam saw warmth there, but Dante's expression remained professionally neutral. "Liam, Marcus has been asking to have you on his emerging markets team for a few weeks now," Dante said. "I've been putting him off because you were valuable where you were, but I think it's time to make the transfer official. Marcus, you want to tell him about the opportunity?" Marcus outlined the position. "Interesting work, significant responsibility. good growth potential. It was everything Liam could want professionally. "What do you think?" Marcus asked. "I think it sounds perfect," Liam said honestly. "Great. You can start next Monday." "That gives you a week to wrap up your current projects," Marcus said. He shook Liam's hand and left, looking pleased. When the door closed, Dante allowed himself a small smile. "See? Simple." "Thank you," Liam said, "for handling this properly." "Of course," Dante replied. "Liam, I need you to understand something. At work, I'm your colleague, not your boyfriend. We keep things professional here. But after hours, you're mine and I'm yours. Can you handle that distinction?" "Yes," Liam said, "I can handle it." The week passed in a strange duality. At work, they maintained perfect professionalism, only interacting when necessary, and always with appropriate boundaries. But in the evenings, Liam went to Dante's loft, and they fell into an easy domesticity that felt natural, despite how new it was. Dante cooked while Liam worked on his laptop. They discussed their days over dinner. They watched movies on the couch, Liam curled against Dante's side. They made love every night, Liam's body quickly adapting to the intimacy, learning to crave Dante's touch. By Friday, Liam had essentially moved into the loft without either of them explicitly deciding it. His toiletries were in Dante's bathroom, his clothes mixed with Dante's in the closet, his presence woven into the space in ways that felt permanent. "Stay," Dante said that Friday night as they lay in bed. "Don't go back to your studio, just stay here with me." "Are you asking me to move in with you?" Liam asked, his heart racing. "Yes," Dante said simply. "I know it's fast. I know conventional wisdom says we should wait. But Liam, I've never been more certain of anything. I want you here. I want to wake up with you every morning. I want to build a life with you." "Yes," Liam said without hesitation. "Yes, I'll stay." 2 months into their relationship, things settled into comfortable patterns. Liam thrived on Marcus's team, his work earning recognition and respect that had nothing to do with his relationship with Dante. The gossip died down when people realized there was nothing scandalous to see, just two professionals who happened to be dating outside of work. Dante introduced Liam to his mother and siblings during a weekend trip to Atlanta. His mother had looked Liam over carefully before pulling him into a hug and whispering, "About time someone made him happy." Liam introduced Dante to his parents over a tense dinner in Connecticut that gradually thawed as they saw how Dante treated their son, with respect and affection and genuine interest in his thoughts and opinions. "He's good for you," his mother admitted privately. "You seem more confident, more yourself." 6 months in, they took their first vacation together, a week in Italy where they explored Rome and Florence and the Amalfi Coast, eating incredible food and seeing art that took their breath away and making love with the windows open to the Mediterranean breeze. "Thank you," Liam said one evening, as they watched the sunset over Positano. "For what?" Dante asked, pulling him closer. "For seeing me," Liam said. "For being patient with me, for showing me what this could be. I was so afraid for so long, and you made me brave enough to reach for what I wanted." "You were always brave," Dante corrected. "I just helped you see it. And Liam," he turned to look at him directly, "thank you for taking a chance on me, for trusting me with your first time, your vulnerability, your heart. I don't take any of it lightly." 1 year after that Friday night when everything changed, Dante took Liam back to the loft and led him to the terrace overlooking the city. "This is where I first knew," Dante said. "That morning after, when we had breakfast here, and you talked about wanting to travel, wanting to really live, I knew then that I wanted to spend my life showing you the world, experiencing things with you, building something that mattered." He pulled out a small box, and Liam's breath caught. "Liam Harper, you walked into my office as a nervous intern, and somehow you became the most important person in my life. You make me laugh. You challenge me. You see past the CEO to the man underneath, and you love that man even with all his flaws. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Liam was crying, nodding before Dante even finished speaking. "Yes," he managed. "God, yes." The ring was perfect, simple and elegant, sized perfectly for his finger. Dante slid it on, and they kissed as the city lights sparkled below them. They married a year later in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Liam's parents attended, his mother crying through the whole thing. Dante's mother gave a toast about how love finds you when you're ready for it, and how she'd never seen her son happier. As they danced at their reception, Liam thought about the shy virgin who'd been terrified to admit his attraction, and the confident man he'd become. He thought about that first night when Dante had been so careful and patient, showing him what intimacy could be. He thought about every morning since, waking up next to the man who'd seen him completely and loved him anyway. "What are you thinking about?" Dante murmured against his ear. "About how I almost let fear keep me from this," Liam admitted. "How I almost never told you how I felt." "But you were brave," Dante reminded him. "You reached across that console, figuratively speaking, and took what you wanted. That's what I love about you, Liam. When it matters, you're the bravest person I know." Years later, Liam would look back on that Friday night as the moment his life truly began, the night he stopped watching from the sidelines and started participating, the night he learned that desire wasn't something to fear, but something to embrace, the night he discovered that the right person would see all of you, your inexperience, your fears, your vulnerability, and love you, not despite those things, but because of the whole package you represented. Dante never stopped being patient, never stopped being attentive, never stopped making Liam feel like the most important person in the world. And Liam never stopped being grateful that he'd been brave enough that one time to reach for what he wanted, to trust someone with his heart and his body, to take the leap into the unknown. Because sometimes the best love stories start with terror and uncertainty, and the courage to admit what you want. Sometimes they begin with a virgin intern who can't stop staring and a CEO who notices everything. Sometimes they start with a single moment of honesty that changes two lives forever. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, they last a lifetime. If this story moved you, if it made you believe in the power of taking risks for love, leave a like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Because love like this exists when we're brave enough to reach for it, when we're honest enough to admit what we want, when we find someone who sees all of us and chooses to stay. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to be brave, that waiting for the right person is worth it, and that real love, the kind that changes you, challenges you, and cherishes you, is always worth fighting for.